Good evening, everyone. Many thanks for coming. And today's topic are on yoga and Tai Chi. Both are yoga and Tai Chi are gentle form of exercise which can help maintain strength and flexibility and balance during this critical period. So today's the chair are going to be Nisha Nair and also going to be Christina. Two are the great executive. Nisha is the pediatric executive of our Society of Cardiothoracic surgical care practitioner, and also Christina is our educational chair and cardiac chair for our Surgical Care Practitioner Society. Nisha, to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhuvaneswari. Good evening, all. I would like to welcome Miss Letty Mitchell, who is going to share with us about yoga and its benefits for our mental well-being. Letty is an artist and a yoga teacher with 10 years of teaching experience. Letty offers 121 coaching, public yoga, movement, meditation classes, online classes, workshops, and talks. She has had collaborations with yoga, fitness studios, fashion magazines, creative teams, dance companies, health institutes, and fashion brands, including Adidas, Nike, Puma, Dazed, and Block. Letty has also been part of the faculty for the NTN curriculum, lecturing on mindfulness and resilience. If anybody wants to have contact with her, Letty's website address is www.letty.com. So Letty, all stage is yours. You can start.
All right, thank you so much. Guys, can you hear me okay? All right, fantastic. So like it was mentioned, my name is Letty and I teach yoga. I teach mindfulness and I'm also a movement and a visual artist. Before lockdown, I was pretty much teaching 6 days a week. I've noticed a couple of names that you may know me. I also work for SCTS part-time, so you might have actually got an email from me, but in the background full-time I'm teaching yoga. And like that was mentioned, I do work with not just yoga and fitness studios, but I'm also more into the creative world. I've written articles for like Dazed, I've gone into colleges and universities, and yeah, so that's quite a lot of what I do at the moment. In terms of training, I do have a dance and movement and somatic background. So this is kind of where I lead my movement sessions. So I have a BA and a postgraduate in movement. I'm also trained in hot yoga, in power, vinyasa. I've done advanced anatomy, yin. I teach mindfulness, meditation. And I also do myofascial body work. So I'm very mindful of how stress, especially, nowadays, how stress is actually held in the kind of the fascial structure of our body and our nervous system. Yeah, so that's me. Could I do next slide, please? Great, thank you. So the reasoning why I mentioned a lot about my movement and my art is because I'm at a point in my career and my personal development where I've really, I call it the union or the coming together of awakening and creativity. And I really feel like they're innately interconnected. You don't kind of have one without the other. We have to stay creative. So not only am I studying yoga, I do believe in studying the mystical of anatomy. The phenomena of chi. I think Robin will talk a lot about chi and energy, so I won't go into it too much, but I teach from feeling and I teach from energy. So that's a really big part of what I want to come across and share to you. Quite recently, I've done quite a lot of research on neuroscience, and it's been really interesting to do this talk to you, which are healthcare practitioners, because I do a lot of talks to different people. Neuroscience, a lot of the scientific facts that we are now receiving and a lot of the tests that we're doing now, yogis have known this thousands of years, but it's beautiful. It's really nice seeing how the science part of it and the kind of spiritual part of it, which is less tangible for a lot of us, it kind of feels ethereal, but how these two things come together. And also a lot of my learnings, and I really encourage people to do this, is just have conversations behind spiritual philosophy. And this doesn't have to be Western, it could be Eastern, it could just be your own idea on concept or purpose. And these kinds of conversations and journaling has really guided my career. And these are some of the questions that really guide me, and I'm just going to offer it to you as well, just for you to think about. So how this body and this mind can work in harmony. And we know that quite often there is a disconnect there. That's why we have stress and all of this stuff. How this relationship of mind-body can help us navigate through a modern lifestyle, one, and especially through crisis, you know, especially this crazy mental period that we're all going through collectively as a human, as a global collective experience, how this mind-body connection can really help us create some more calm and balance in our life. How through mindfulness, movement and stillness, we can start to understand ourselves better and thus understand the world better. And importantly, how creativity can help us access our journey into flow state, thus making us feel a bit more connected and powerful. And I just wanted to break down what flow state is, because this is really the essence of like my whole philosophy of movement. And it states in positive psychology, a flow state, also known as being in the zone, is the mental state in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of focus, involvement, and importantly here, enjoyment. So enjoying what you do. And just on the right, just a couple of recent images I did for Free People magazine, but it's a nice combination of yoga-esque movement as well as design and lighting there. Okay, can I do the next slide, please? Great. Being mode versus doing mode, and this is really important, and I'm going to break down what that means a little bit later. So what is yoga? I'm going to go through about the history very briefly in the next slide, but for me, yoga is a practice of self-realization, a practice of self-realization. It's a practice of remembering who we are beneath the busyness. So beneath the job, beneath the family, beneath the stuff, beneath the timetable, the 9 to 5, beneath the fictional narratives. And this is important because quite often we're leading a life which is full of stories, and many of those stories are completely fictional. So they're made up by the brain. Beneath our traumas, we know that traumas and things like this pandemic have opportunities, if we allow them, to really kind of sit in our body and create a lot of illness. And also our upbringing. So that's just to name a few. And one of the interesting facts I learned recently is you know, we found that on average, we have about 12,000, I think it's more than that, to 60,000 thoughts a day. And of those thousands of thoughts, 80% are usually negative, and quite phenomenally, 95%, so pretty much all of your thoughts are the same as yesterday. And then, you know, I'm going to talk about this a bit later, but then we wonder, why do we keep going through these same situations in relationships and work? It's because our thoughts haven't changed and we're continuing this autopilot behavior. Importantly, yoga creates mind and body coherence, or what we say, mind and heart coherence. And this creates mental clarity. It creates emotional stability and overall just a general positive boost for your well-being. I found this lovely little image here, and I think it just breaks down a few of the things that you probably will know of, but I think just relating it more into the kind of science and the health world. A few things here. So positive emotions increase the brain's ability to make good decisions. You can boost your immune system, which is really important at the moment with Corona. You can boost your immune system by focusing on positive emotions. And then the paradox of that also is that positive emotions create a better physicality and less illness. And then another one that's quite interesting in terms of, in yoga, you know, we talk a lot about the heart, and it sometimes is a very ethereal thing, a very out there woo-woo stuff, but it is proven now, it's scientific, that the heart magnetic field can be measured meters away from the body. So when you're in your center, when you're radiating from your heart, you actually have a positive effect in your environment. So imagine if we do this in work or do this in public spaces, it's just like this sense of community and union. If we lead from brain alone, without feeling into the body, this creates a robotic lifestyle. And I've just put here, watching the roller coaster rather than taking a seat. And I think this is a really nice image. And what I mean by that is, quite often what we do is we take a seat on the roller coaster and we go through all these ups and downs and we get pulled and we're part of the drama of it all. When really what we want to do is be an observer. So instead of taking a seat, we want to just sit back, become part of the audience. This doesn't mean that we're trying to stop the roller coaster. This doesn't mean that we are stopping the ebb and flow of life. It just means that we can see it, but we're not caught up in the drama of it. And yoga and mindfulness gives us the tools to help us doing that. And just at the end of this, that's where the being mode versus doing mode. I think the majority of the population, and I put in myself in this as well, is we live on doing mode. Everything is doing, rather than acknowledging that being is enough. Being is enough. You existing is enough. You being centered in your heart and your purpose is enough. Okay. So then it goes to the next slide, and sorry that I'm kind of rushing through this. It's kind of like a massive topic to kind of condense in 5 slides. I'm going to get to this diagram on the right. I thought it's incredible in terms of visually, if you are visual like me, just to see our emotions and our frequencies. Touching upon this victim mentality. So in yoga, we perceive absolutely everything as being our mirror. So quite often we fall into this victim mentality and this culture of blame to say, this person is making me sad. This relationship is causing me anxiety. This work is making me stress. My work colleagues are doing this, etc., etc. So basically what we're doing here is shifting the blame onto other people's shoulders. What the practice of embodiment, mindfulness, and meditation allows us to do is actually take responsibility for our lives and be like, actually, this person is not responsible for my emotions. I am responsible for my emotions. I'm responsible for whether I'm sitting in sadness or sitting in happiness. And this is very hard to hear for a lot of us. And that's why I say that, you know, we can't help what happens to us. I think the majority of us last year would never, ever expect this lockdown to happen. We can't manage and control stuff that is outside of ourselves. We can take responsibility of what's going on inside of ourselves. And this is making more responses, so less reactional decisions, more connected and conscious to our words, our actions, our energy, our self-healing, and our own happiness, really. And that's where it comes to this wicked little graph, and I thought it's really helpful. So on the left of the graph, you have the hertz, the frequency. You then have the emotional kind of lineup. And then you have this spectrum. And for those of you that are into chakra base, dantians, and just things of energy, you'll see that these colors reflect this chakra system. So going from the root chakra all the way up to the crown of the head. And quite beautifully, I wasn't going to share this, but you know, during lockdown, I've been in my room lots of time, and every evening I look out of my window, I can see quite a lot of London. And it is so incredible for me to acknowledge that this color system is represented in sunset and sundown. I invite you to do this. I invite you, it might be a cloudy day, so maybe not today, but I invite you when the sun is out and the sky is clear in the evening to look out, and you will see that by the earth is the red colors and the yellows, then you go up to the greens, and then you see the sky, which is the blues, and then it goes into purple. So everything is intertwined. So going on a bit of a tangent, as you can see, you know, things like guilt and shame and fear is very low in vibration, very, very low. Working up to joy and love and this thing called enlightenment. I'm going to remove the word enlightenment. I'm just going to say a heightened state of awareness, being more conscious. look how high your vibration is. It's 700 plus hertz. And again, like I mentioned, the self-work that we're doing here is not just for ourselves. This vibration is going to radiate to your personal field, and like attracts like. So, you know, sometimes we're in this, if anyone suffered depression or anxiety, which I often do, and you're sitting in this kind of sadness and this grief and this solitude, and it's very, very hard to pick yourself up because like attracts like, and then you'll realize that your work starts to crumble, your relationships start to crumble, everybody starts to annoy you. And this is where it takes our responsibility to observe and raise our vibration. And just a few more things. I've nearly finished here, but none of these emotions are wrong. None of them are wrong. And I think that's quite, there's often a misconception with meditation is that you're trying to be joyful all the time. Life is cyclical, life is ups and downs. So we are all, at some part in our life, going to experience all of these emotions. Meditation and yoga allows us to see where we are in that spectrum. And then when we see where we are in that spectrum, we make choices that facilitate more joy. And that's basically what we're doing. And these negative, you know, being uncomfortable isn't negative. I've had a lot of conversations during lockdown, you know, especially you guys that are working on the front line. It's so scary. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of scare. This stuff shouldn't be perceived as being a negative thing. A lot of it is just new. When something is new, when something is unfamiliar, when something pushes you to go outside of your comfort zone, the evolution of our brain means that fight or flight clicks up. And when fight or flight clicks up, we start to become irritated. So I just encourage you to just be with these feelings. And I encourage you that, you know, the more we feel into our feelings, the more the feelings will change. The only constant thing in this life is change. Yeah. So at the end of this slide, just mentioning, I won't go through it too much, but it's just question everything. I feel like, you know, those of you that have children, nieces and nephews, children question everything. It's super annoying, right? They ask, why do the clouds move? Why is this? Why is this? It's so annoying. However, you know, there's a part in our life when we reach adulthood that we stop doing that. And we stop playing and we stop pausing and we stop looking after ourselves. And these are just a few questions. Like, when is the last time have you asked yourself, am I happy? Am I content with what I'm doing? Am I living my purpose? Like, being honest with that, sitting with that, asking yourself, am I living my purpose? Have I lost work and family balance? Have I lost it? Like, be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves here. What do I need more of? And what do I need less of? So these are just some of them. I realize just the timing. Okay, Bhuvaneswari, just the next slide. I won't go through it all completely. It's just a little bit of history. The main thing we're going to look at here, just visually, just because of our brains, we've taken quite a lot of information here, is the 8 limbs of yoga. So, in the Western world, we perceive yoga as being just one of those limbs. It's called asana. So a majority of us who haven't done kind of research or practice perceive yoga as being asana. And asana just basically means shapes, body shapes, sitting down. So a lot of us perceive yoga as being these beautiful shapes with trendy leggings for kind of social media. And it completely strips away from the essence and the depth of this work. So as you can see, the asana is just 1/8. You have, if I just go through it really quickly, you have the yamas, and yamas are, I'm going to call them guidelines in terms of how we connect with other people. So non-violence, non-harming, non-stealing, the way that we treat each other, and that's yoga. Niyamas are guidelines for ourselves. So are you working on yourself? Are you acknowledging how you feel? Are you self-developing? What are you learning? So things that we always have to come back to ourselves. So that's also yoga. Then you have the asana, which is the movement. And if we have time, we'll do about 10 minutes of movement. Pranayama is breath, something we often take for granted because we breathe, but this is conscious breath. This is being conscious of the depth of the way that we're breathing. Pratyahara, breaking it down, is a removal of senses. You know, sometimes we get so overwhelmed with sound and smell, and there's so much going on, especially you guys. I could only imagine with the busyness of your work environment. All of this stuff needs to strip back. In order to find self and connection, there needs to be this balance of, yes, there's busyness, but there's also some chill out time. Dhyana is basically a single pointed focus. You then go into yana, which is meditation. And then hopefully after all of these things, samadhi. And samadhi is enlightenment. But I feel like that terminology for people often feels like, you know, you need to be sitting in a field full of roses and you need to be levitating. You really don't have to do that. You know, the whole practice of this is that you can be fully in joy, fully in love, fully connecting to your purpose every single day, despite your circumstance. And the mindfulness aspects of it can just be seen as like a brain gymnastics. Yeah, so basically, without going into too much detail there, it basically means that you're conscious of what you're doing. You're conscious of what you're doing. So you're not doing one thing with your body, but your mind is thinking of something else, because there's no coherence there. We need coherence in order to live our purpose. And just the last slide, if you can. Oh, actually, oh yeah, but it doesn't matter. Here, it was just some of the benefits. Reduce stress. You know, all of us can do with a little bit of de-stressing. Nervous system goes from fight or flight to the parasympathetic, so we start to feel into rest and digest, where the body can work at its optimum, especially now. Stress and fear allows your immune system to go down, and really we want our immune system to go up. So we need to look at alternative other than just working your body. We got to work our mind, we got to work our heart. Calming, you know, increased awareness, brain functioning, blood pressure, and just a general overall sense of well-being and standard of living. And I'll just leave you with this, and I just wrote that in an essay recently. I made the most of this lockdown, and I've been doing some online classes. There are things that are out there for free if you're interested. I did an online mindfulness class with a guy called Michael Stone. And I just want to read you this before we do a little bit of meditation together. And it says this: I truly believe that the more opportunities we are given, which allows us, sometimes demands us, to keep trying and to keep finding the path back to peace, the stronger and the more resilient we become. The growing awareness that difficult circumstances are blessings for growth, for expansion, and for strengthening willpower. I acknowledge that the door to this appreciation starts with the simplicity of pausing, stopping for a moment. To be there for myself in order to see the dust slowly brush away from the virtual projected reality to the miracle vibrancy and frequency of the present moment. And to not only accept the present, but to bathe in it like the ocean, whatever the weather. So I know that was a lot of information in a very small period of time, but I hope that you got some gist of this work. And what I'm going to do for the next, just under 10 minutes probably, I don't want to go too long, is to do a little bit of meditation and mindfulness. Now, I'm aware most of you are seated on a chair. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just guide this towards just a seated practice that we can actually do where we are. Yeah. Okay. Are you up for that? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Great. All right. So guys, wherever you are. If you're seated, you can do this. If you're on the floor, you can do this. But I want you to take the most comfortable seat that you are in right now. Okay. So if you're on a chair, I'm going to recommend you're not leaning your spine against the wall. I recommend that you allow your spine to be just hovering in space. Great. If you're doing this with me on the floor, just come to a comfortable seat and just ensuring that if you want to sit up on a pillow or if you want to sit up on a block, you can do that as well. All right, guys. Spine is long. So if you're sitting there with rounded shoulders and a concave spine, just allow your shoulders to draw back. And let's bring our hands either onto our knees or to our thighs. Okay. And if you prefer just to observe, that's absolutely fine as well. But it's quite nice to have a little gist. I'm just going to put a timer on. Guys, if you just close your eyes for a moment. Now, with your eyes closed, take in the first few moments of this to tune in. And all that basically means is that we're transitioning from distraction and external, and we're bringing our awareness into our body. If I can just ask everybody to mute their videos, please. Taking a moment to feel the relationship of gravity to your body. Now, as I guide you through this meditation, everybody, try not to move your body, try not to have an outcome or a perceived outcome, just have a sense of how you're feeling. So feeling the relationship of your legs to the earth or to the chair. Feeling the weight of your pelvis against the seat. And then just taking a moment to notice if there's any tension going on in the shoulders. So let go of the shoulders. Letting go of any tension around the neck or the throat. And just taking a moment for yourself to soften all the muscles in your face. So if you're frowning right now, just smooth out your forehead. Relax the eyebrows. Relaxing all the muscles around the eyes. Relaxing your cheeks. And really importantly here, relax the back of your jaw. This is a place where we hold a lot of anxiety and stress. So you may even want to gently part the lips. The interior of the mouth is relaxed. The tongue is soft. And then just having a sense of your body as a whole. The first technique we'll be using is mindfulness of sound. So if we can, let's keep our body still. Let's keep our shoulders relaxed. Keeping our face relaxed. All I'm going to ask you to do now is listen. Listen. Listen to the sounds that are in the room that you're currently in. The sounds that may be outside of the room that you're in. and the sounds that may be coming from within. Again, we're not trying to move, we're not trying to force, we're not making things up. We're just taking our time to listen. Keep softening the space between your eyebrows. Keep relaxing the back of the jaw. Being fully receptive to every single sound that enters your awareness. Listening. Starting to move in the body now. And again, within this stillness, within this quiet, feel your skin. Feel the texture and the sensations of your skin. You'll notice, some areas of the body may feel hotter, some areas may feel cooler, but just be so invested in feeling your skin. Remember, the face is relaxed, your cheeks are soft, your mouth is relaxed, and you're feeling the outer shell of your body, you're feeling the organ of your skin right now. What about under your skin? Can you feel what is happening under your skin? And again, there's no wrong way or right way of doing it. We're just guiding our consciousness underneath our skin now. How does this feel? And let's go even deeper. Let's try to feel inside of our body. And let's be really specific and really simple. Let's feel inside of our hands, the internal vibrations and pulsations that's happening within your hands. Now the inside of your arms. What do the inside of your arms feel like? The inside of your torso. Inside of your pelvis, inside of your legs, inside of your feet. Just stay with that for a moment. Now guys, if your mind wanders off, you are human. This is natural. But just grab the mind's hand and bring it back to this exercise. You are here, you are present, you are in your body and you're feeling the inner orchestra of your body right now. More moments. Keeping this sense of embodiment, bring your awareness to the way that you're breathing. Now the tendency here is to try and change your breath pattern, like the roller coaster analogy. You're taking a seat on the roller coaster rather than just watching. We are watching the way that we inhale and the way that we exhale. Remember, the jaw is relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed. Keeping the eyes closed now, keeping this sense of embodiment and commitment to your body and the sensations of the body, coming into a very, very simple pranayama exercise. This is just a breath exercise. What we'll be doing in a moment is just inhaling on the count of 4, exhaling on the count of 4. I'll do 4 rounds. Okay, guys, let's do this together. Keeping the eyes closed, breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Twice more. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, and 1. And just breathe normally for a moment, keeping the eyes closed. How do you feel? Just acknowledge how you're feeling right now. And very gently opening the eyes. Due to timing, few positions just to stretch out shoulders and neck before I move on to Robin. So all I'm going to ask you to do, if you have the space, is take your arms out to the side. Try to keep this sense of embodiment. Try not to lose this energy that you're feeling here. This is all about feeling, okay? Coming into what we call Gurudasana or eagle arms. Now, if you need a visual image, you can look at me here. Right elbow slides underneath your left elbow. Okay, let me do that again. Right elbow all the way under, all the way under. So right elbow all the way under. If this doesn't work for your shoulders right now, please just do this. So take one arm across the body if that works better. But if you're in these eagle arms, lift your elbows up in line with your shoulders if you can. And notice as you do this, if your shoulders is lifted up against your ears, just relax your shoulders. Squeeze your elbows together, really squeeze. And then think about rounding the upper back slightly. Another way of thinking about this is push your forearms as far forward as you can. And you may even want to do this rounding the back entirely. Whatever feels the most beneficial stretch across the shoulders. So remember, we have these bag of tools that we can use. We can close our eyes. We can find this cadence to the way that we're breathing, or we can start to really feel embodied. 3 more breaths here. Last 2. 1 more breath. And then if you're folded forward, lift yourself up, unravel the arms, and inhale, expand and stretch the arms out to the side again. Okay, so let's just do second side. So most of you will have your left elbow now underneath your right one. Again, if that's super tricky, just take one arm across the body. And if you've done the same arm twice, that's also okay. So remember, let's just encourage ourselves to be flirtatious with our edges, yeah? So if you haven't ever lifted your elbows up to see how high they can go, lift them up. Try not to get your shoulders involved, so relax your shoulders. And then remember, this is active, so squeeze your elbows together. And then potentially, if it's there for you, rounding the upper back, rounding the upper back. So for me specifically, when I'm leading these sessions, just a reminder that yoga is not only about the asana. Yoga is the embodiment. Yoga is the journey. Yoga is the means. Keep breathing into the space between your shoulder blades. Beautiful, guys. 2 more. One more breath. And then bring your elbows all the way up. Okay, just unravel the arms. Nearly there. Just interlace your fingers, everybody. And all we're going to do from here is press an imaginary wall away from you and round through the spine. Chin to chest. Good. And you can move around here a little bit. And then keeping your interlace, inhale, lift your hands all the way up again. All the way up. Palms of the hands stretch up. Good. Let's do it 2 more times. Pressing an imaginary wall away from you, rounding your upper back. And then inhale, lift your palms all the way up. Remember to press your bottom all the way down. 1 more time. Exhale. Rounding through the upper back. And then lifting the palms all the way up to the ceiling. All right, guys. So from here, we're going to bring our hands together and just bring our thumb knuckles to touch the breastbone. Okay, relax your shoulders and just closing the eyes. For the ending of a session, we say the word namaste, and it basically means I see you. I see your worth and you see mine. So there is this sense of community, even though we're doing this online, we're still together. Okay, let's bring our knuckles, our thumb knuckles to our third eye. It's just that gap between the eyebrows. And then together we'll say namaste. So namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So apologies we didn't do enough movement, but I'm aware of the time. But hopefully you get a little bit of a gist. And again, if you have any questions, if you want to contact me, Body by Letty on social media, or bodybyletty.com is my website. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Letty, that was amazing. Thank you, Letty, for sharing your knowledge and experience. It was very interesting topic, very informative. Yoga, like any other form of exercise, is so helpful for our well-being, especially during this unprecedented time. Letty, thank you once again. Now I'm going to hand over to Christina to introduce our next speaker for today's session.
Thank you very much, Letty. I think this is very helpful, and I'm sure whoever cannot come today and will listen all the recording, they'll be really useful. There is lots of things that you said that is in the unit all the time: fear, stress, fear. So thank you very much. So I want to introduce Robin Sunley. He works with us in South Tees in James Cooke. So thanks, Robin, for coming. He works for us in the Cardiothoracic unit and also works for the Trust for the Cancer Services. He's acupuncture, Tai Chi, Kung Fu instructor. I need to read because it's a lot of things that I didn't know about Robin. So Robin is a member of the British Acupuncture Council, is a warden as well of the British Kung Fu Association. So as I said, he works with us. He works in a lot of research projects. He also studied in China, United States and Japan, and he also is a lecturer for the Northern College of Acupuncture in York. Robin, all to you. I'm not sure if I miss anything, but you will tell us.
That's absolutely fine. Hello, everybody. As I said, my name is Robin Sunley, and I work at James Cooke University Hospital. It's a long story how I got there, and that we've only got 15 minutes, so we won't go into that. But I primarily work for oncology services, where I deal with the side effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. But I know you had Mr. Joel Dunning on this podcast, or whatever we're going to call it, a few weeks ago, or whenever that was, and he searched me out. He came and found me, and employed me basically because I work on trying to reduce pain through acupuncture and mindfulness and Tai Chi, Qigong exercises when people have had surgery. I also take care of the staff on that ward. Well, I try my best to. So, yeah, I've studied all over the world. I've been doing this for 25 years, and yeah, I do. Yeah, I primarily came through it through Kung Fu, which martial art type thing, and then Tai Chi came along, and then acupuncture came along, and I've embraced it. So I am very evidence-based. I know I am a research associate at Leeds University, and I do a lot of research at our hospital as well. So we try and publish all the data we collect. But I'll try not to bore us all with that. We're not really at work at the moment, are we? So let's not get into that. So it's not in depth by any means, but we'll start off with this. Here's a photo of our garden at the centre, and obviously everybody loves posing for a photo. So there's members of staff here, and there's and we run a Tai Chi class, and we'll go into what Tai Chi is basically. So, but you see, we're trying to do it outside, and no one likes a photo that's too serious, so we always just have a bit of fun. Okay, so Tai Chi is a slow-moving form of exercise. You may see people, if you've ever seen documentaries about China and things, they always do it on a morning or on an evening. You know, it's next to a river or in a park, and people are moving very slowly and gracefully. It originated, if you really want to know, this is a big debate that people have, but I believe it fully came from India and fully started with yoga. So I think it came along those lines, because the story goes there was a Buddhist monk who came from India who brought Buddhism from India to China, and the monks he was trying to teach were lazy and couldn't meditate for very long, so he taught them 5 animal exercises, which, considering he came from India, I presume it would be a yoga-based type movement. So, and that's how it started. However, Tai Chi really is a martial arts, but most people in this country do it for health, and we might refer to that as Qi Gong, which just means a breath work exercise. So I'm hoping most people who learn Tai Chi don't do it as a self-defense, but you still can there. It still is available, and some people still do that. There's 5 main styles of Tai Chi, and they're just family names. So Chen was the original style of Tai Chi, and he had someone who lived in his village was called Yang style. And the world over now does Yang style Tai Chi mainly. Every year there's a large community of people who do the Yang 24 steps. So there's the Yang movements, which have 24 movements. And every year they try to break the world record with the amount of people who do that. There's estimated to be 250 million people around the world who do it, but there's no way of proving that, but I would suspect it would be that way. You know, it's become very, very popular, and it came over in the 70s. And again, because of the interest in Kung Fu, brought by Bruce Lee and his movies and things like that. So that's when it really started becoming popular. And like I said, I've been doing this 25 years, and there was no Tai Chi around this area when I started. I had to go to Birmingham, and then I had to go, I've ended up going around the world to find teachers and things like that. So it's regarded as an internal martial art. So what that means is, whereas we would regard Kung Fu as, or wrestling or anything like that, where you physically build your body up and become strong through weightlifting, it would be said that Tai Chi builds up strength through good body mechanics and good postural alignments, and good use of your own your mind and your body working together. Again, as yoga means unity of that body and mind, so the Tai Chi would say the same thing. We're looking to, not separate your mind and your body. And I once had a discussion. I worked in China for a while in a hospital, and I had a discussion about the body and the mind, and the person who I was talking to didn't have any understanding of it. And I thought it was the translator wasn't really doing it very well, but it turns out they didn't have that separation of body and mind. They just regarded it as a whole. So that's quite an interesting part. And again, that's maybe Eastern philosophy versus Western philosophy, but that's again a massive discussion that we probably shouldn't have here now. And Tai Chi, so realistically, we call it Tai Chi, but Qigong is a form of traditional medicine. So the movement, breath work, is a form of medicine in China. There's 7 levels of it. The first one being basically diet. You can look at it. It's nothing we wouldn't know at all. Anyone who has ever grown up anywhere, diet has a role to play in your health. Movement has a role to play in your health, how your mind works, how your mental health has a role to play in it. So it kind of encompasses into all of those things. So it's quite an interesting thing. Again, say in China, it just becomes part of their way of life. The example we would use is say, have you brushed your teeth today? Have you done your Tai Chi today? It just becomes part of your daily life, really. Or, well, not for everybody, of course, but that's how we would always try and instill it in our students. Okay, could we have the next slide, please? Okay, so I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, considering I work at the hospital and I have my own clinics and I work for Cardiothoracic as well. And on my regular days, I would often see 60 to 70 patients. Okay, so, and I like to say I've studied all over the world, and I've spent 6 months at the top of a mountain in Japan, and it's very nice and it's really useful. But again, it was very easy to not quiet the mind, that's a whole different thing. It's very easy to sit and relax when there's nothing else to do. But my plan for this was how to apply it in a day-to-day basis when you're at work and when you're in the ward or when you're in surgery and the kids are running around your house. I have 2 children, young children. So I've put some examples here of what I wanted to do, really. Not just for this, but this is what I've kind of wanted to make it more applicable to a day-to-day working hospital, really. So I've put examples of usual pain. I refer to it as nursing back. There's a lot of nurses or even doctors who come and say, I have a bad back. And we all know that you shouldn't be flippant about this, but if a patient's going to fall, they're going to fall in the smallest room next to the bed, and you're going to have to try and lift them up in that area. So, and we know our slide sheets work and all these other things, but sometimes, well, again, it's getting a lot better, but traditionally we would have to just lift using strength. And then neck pain, I've seen a lot of residents and a lot of surgical practitioners who have neck pain because of the position you're held in when you're holding in surgery. So again, there is physical demands. Now we're into the really big one, I think, here is mental health demands on the ward or when you're at work. And it is stressful, and it can be very hectic. I hope I'm not preaching to the choir. Some people do sail through, and that's absolutely fine. And again, it's exactly what we've just been talking about. There's lots of different levels of this. But my experience of working in the hospital or working in healthcare is we do get a lot of burnout, and we do get a lot of compassion fatigue, and we're going to come back to this thing of not really paying attention to yourself and not really factoring yourself into this equation. When you're taking care of other people, do you start with yourself? And this is and it's exactly what we've been talking about here. It's an interesting thing that we often put ourselves at the end of the queue, whereas realistically we need to be putting ourselves at the start of the queue. I always have this one story I tell. I had a lady who had 4 children, and I was being a bit naughty with this story, but I will say. And I said to her, have you ever been on a plane? And she said yes. I said, so when the masks drop down, and say if you're traveling with a child, you put your own mask on first. And this lady instantly, I knew what she was going to say. She instantly said, "Oh, I'd put my children's mask on first. The oxygen masks when they come down." And I said, "Which one?" I said, "Your own mask on first. You can get to all 4 of your children. But if you don't put your own mask on first, you'll only get to 1." So by taking care of yourself, it enables you to keep practicing and taking care of all your patients and yourself, but you have to put your own mask on first. So that self-care is a really important thing. Again, mindfulness. Now, I've done lots of mindfulness courses, and I think without hesitation, mindfulness is the most useful thing I've ever learned, full stop. But I've gone on lots of courses, and I always said, I tailor it back to driving. When you started to drive, not everybody drives, but when you start to drive, you go somewhere quiet, it's an industrial estate, and you learn slowly. And then you build that up, and then although you shouldn't, we drive on that autopilot where it's, you know, sometimes you don't know how you've driven to work at all. I mean, I used to work in a different hospital, and I will fully admit that when I changed my hospital, I drove to that hospital one morning on autopilot. I didn't know how I'd got there, and I was like, oh. And it's that autopilot we have to watch, where your mind, when you're doing your regular tasks, and your mind starts running in the background, and it starts dragging you places you don't want to go. So mindfulness, when we often start in a quiet room where it's, you know, warm and there's nice music going on, and you sit in a comfortable position, and that's a brilliant way to start. But then we need to apply it to what we do on a daily basis. So at our trust, I'm part of the mindfulness organisation, where we're trying to make mindfulness become daily activities for everybody. And again, it might not be applicable to everybody, but again, I can only say for me, I think it's the most useful thing I've ever learned, and that's just a full stop with that. Okay, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so Tai Chi. Now we're going to do some Tai Chi. Well, we're going to try and do some. If not, I'm going to show you some. And if you know, again, if you haven't got room around you, I'm going to say I'll do this now, and then I'll do it at the end. We have I work for the Trinity Holistic Centre at James Cooke University Hospital, and we have a Facebook page, and we've put lots of Tai Chi exercises up there. I'm going to do a whole series of Tai Chi exercises. It's all free. You can just log in, and there's some mindfulness exercises up there as well that, you know, again, you can access them, and, you know, you might find them useful. So although I will try my best to do it with you all today and make you move and see if I can knock some of those paintings off the wall in your house, you know, when we try and find a bit of space. But there will be, like I said, there is another way to access it through the Trinity Holistic Centre Facebook page at James Cooke University Hospital. Okay, so there's a big evidence base for Tai Chi. I promised I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm onto it straight away. And there's been research done for in you know, elderly patients. Also, because it's a load-bearing exercise, but although being gentle, it can improve and help with osteoarthritis, and in theory, it should do osteoporosis as well. There's it helps Parkinson's. I work for neurological rehab as well, and we do it for Parkinson's patients to improve their left-sided breathing, which can be an issue. And I'm not going to go through all of this. So the benefits to healthcare professionals, again, maintaining strength, flexibility, and balance. When you do these things, you end up working your body, and any movement, you know, is quite useful. So it might not be for everybody, but we'll give it a go. And if you get it part of your daily routine or once a week routine, it can help you just switch off, and during it you can practice your mindfulness. I think yoga, Tai Chi, you know, Qigong, you know, are all just in a whole body of one thing we call mindfulness movement in my eyes. It doesn't have to be anything. You can do a mindfulness walk. That would be useful as well. So it's just useful to find out, you know, what's good for you. I would advise everybody to try lots of different things, find out what works for them, and not fall at that first hurdle. So if you get stuck, if you think, oh, this is not for me, that's absolutely fine. Move on to something else. Just don't stop. The drawbacks. Now, getting someone who really understands it is a real problem. Just because quite a lot of people go on a weekend course, and a lot of gym instructors, and I'm not bad-mouthing, there'll be some excellent people who do this as well, but they do a weekend course where they'll do 1 day of Tai Chi, 1 day of Pilates, and 1 day of yoga, and then they'll think they're an instructor. And I don't want to be negative, it's not my world at all, but again, if you've got an injury, if you have something that's bothering you, you need someone who understands what's going on. You need someone who can help you assess your own needs and not force you to do it. There's nothing wrong with a really good fitness class. I mean, I love them myself, but again, you know, you've got to work within your own limits. I always say you're your own safety officer. If you don't feel strong, solid, safe, and secure, then that's not right. Okay. And then that little bit at the bottom, it won't help you run a marathon. Well, it will, because, but you have to train to run a marathon as well. It's not exactly going to improve your cardiovascular fitness or anything like that, but it will, it's just a useful add-on. Every now and again, you'll get these articles where there was a big thing where one of the golfers had won a massive tournament, and he'd been using Tai Chi to improve his swing. So in my classes, we had a lot of golfers come and things like that. So it's a useful add-on to everything, but I'd like to apply it basically to what we do. I'm going to do a little exercise, what I do on a daily basis at work, and then we'll go through some like bigger movement Tai Chi exercises, if that's okay with you. And that's, what's the next slide? I think that might be it, to be honest with you. Is there anything else? Okay. Okay. So there isn't many photos of me. I'm not a massive fan of the photograph. It doesn't really bother me. But so we're going to do a little demonstration. Okay. So I'm going to step back, and hopefully you can hear me. But again, all of these are on a link on that site, on the Trinity Holistic Centre page, Facebook page. Okay. Can you all see me? Am I the big screen?
Yes.
Brilliant. So we're gonna stand. If you can stand, please do. If you don't, you can sit and do these things. That's absolutely fine. And hopefully you'll be able to hear me. Okay. So I'm gonna have to stand back. Can you still hear me if I talk here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about what I do 3 very basic things, okay? And we talk about quieting the mind, okay? We're going to talk about quieting the mind, and you never stop thinking. It was a really interesting point about we have 50,000 thoughts a day, and it's very true, we do. And if I asked you to not think of a polar bear, you're going to think of a polar bear. And if I say to you, quiet the mind, well, it's almost impossible. Your thoughts will run, and it's completely natural. It's exactly what we've just been talking about. Your thoughts do run all the time. But what I'm trying to do is I'm going to give my brain a job to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stand, okay? And I'm going to feel my feet on the floor. Now, that sounds a very strange thing to say, but what I want you to do is just be aware of your feet being on the floor. And that'll hopefully make you feel strong, solid, safe, and secure, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel my feet on the floor. I'm going to bend my knees slightly. I'm going to soften my knee joints. So I'm going to, imagine you straighten your legs. And what I want you to do is just very gently bend them, soften them a little bit, so you feel the weight go through your knee joints into your feet. Okay. Now, you might be aware of a pain in your lower back. What I'd like you to do is tuck your bum underneath slightly. So I'm going to tilt my pelvis forward, so I feel the weight of my body going through my knees into my feet. Okay. And then I'm going to make sure my shoulders are down. I'm going to relax my shoulders. Okay. And I'm going to take a deep breath into my tummy here. Okay, you can put your hands on your tummy here, and it's exactly what we've just been doing. It's brilliant. I mean, there's so much overlap between those two things. I want you to take a deep breath into your tummy. Again, don't hold it. Don't be uncomfortable. Just breathe out. Okay. So I'm going to slow my breathing down. Now, this is what I do, this is what I do on the ward. And this is really what I do. This is my mindfulness practice. Before I go into a room or go through a door, I stop, I feel my feet, I make sure my shoulders are coming down, and I make sure I'm taking a deep breath. Those 3 things. The feeling your feet on the floor brings you back to what you're doing. When you breathe in, when your respiratory rate's up, you can feel, well, we know what happens when people have the surgery or the thoracotomies and things, and they end up using these auxiliary muscles to breathe, and and they do short breaths, and that makes the mind run. Okay, so there's a big physiological effect of slowing your breathing rate down. So we're going to stand, I'm going to feel my feet. I'm going to make sure my shoulders are down. I'm going to take a deep breath in. And as I breathe out, I'm going to sink everything into my feet. Now, if you start feeling lightheaded, just sit down, okay? So I'm going to do this just a few times, but when I'm on the ward, I do it once. I go, and I've practiced like that driving. I can now drive on autopilot, although I shouldn't. I'm going to use this as a technique. Now, that's the basic fundamental thing you do. If you want to sit down again, I'm sorry, I'm making you move, but I think we're meant to. Okay. So that there's a lot goes on in just that exercise. I'm gonna show you some more things, but there's a lot goes on in that exercise. So we feel our feet to give our mind a job to do. It brings us back to what we're doing now. Our mind runs forwards and backwards, thousands of thoughts at once. So it just brings us back to what we're doing now. Shoulders. Have you ever known anyone who's, when having panic attacks, shoulders come up, respiratory rate goes up, and so by dropping these muscles here makes us expand our rib cage and use our diaphragm. Okay, lowers respiratory rate, and that obviously is quite a useful thing for stopping the mind running a little bit. Physiologically, your breathing rate goes down. The example I use, I'm going to bring it back to work, is we know patients that are fine who have oxygen levels are absolutely fine, but the parent, they're upset and they're scared and they're worried about going home. And when the physios take them out, the breath shortens, everything becomes, and then as soon as they put them back on the oxygen, they go, take a deep breath and think the oxygen's working. But realistically, it's probably not. Well, there is sometimes it will be the oxygen. I'm not making these speak, but when they take that deep breath, they're actually taking a lot more oxygen into the body. So the breathing method, is slowing the respiratory rate down comfortably is fundamental in dealing with what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And again, it's exactly what we've just done. Okay, so this is what I do on the ward. You'll see me stop. It takes a second. I feel my feet. I let my shoulders drop. I relax my breath. Those three things, okay? And all it is just a regular check-in to make sure that you're not going... And you go into a room and you do something and you walk out and you go, have I just done that? Where have I left my stuff? Where have I done that? And all it is just taking regular breaks to make sure that you're checking in with yourself. It would be lovely to do an hour's meditation at work. It would be absolutely amazing. And I love to tell my kids to stop climbing all over me. And there is useful time for that. They're in bed now, so I can practice this in the longer and take my self-care serious. But at work, it's that regular check-in I like to see people do. And this is what I teach patients as well as the staff. Just that regular check-in to make sure that we're not getting further and further down the line. Okay, so that's basically the start of it. Now, the idea is that when I'm standing, when I'm doing my Tai Chi, this is the first movement, okay? So I'm going to go through the next one movement, okay? So I'm going to make you get up and down because I think you've all been sat too long and I'm talk way too much, okay? So we're going to go back. If you can find some room. Now, I'm going to angle my camera. I'm going to see if I can do this. I haven't set up for this. You're going to have to look at my legs. Okay, so what I want you to do, I'm going to angle it down a little bit more. Okay, what I want you to do is we're going to take a wider stance. Okay, can you see my feet? And I want you to sit down as if you're sitting on a horse. Again, if this is uncomfortable, don't do it. Please sit down. What I want you to do is sit down and work out where the most painful part is of the muscle here. So I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit. I'm going to tuck my bum underneath. And I'm going to adjust so I can feel the middle of my thigh working there. Okay, so it's like you sat on a horse. Yeah, this is called horse stance. All right, so I'm going to adjust. I want my knees pointing out, my feet pointing out, and I'm going to feel that. Now, can you feel your thighs working? Are we all sat down? Okay, right, I'm going to leave you there for an hour. I'll be back in an hour. Is that all right? Are you comfortable like that? Okay. So what I want you to do is when you come up, I want you to push the ground away. So I'm going to push the ground away. I'm going to put my feet into the floor, like feeling the floor, and push your legs up. Okay. So we can sit down like that, and if we just straighten the knees, you might hear them click, you might hear them like that. What I want you to do is sit down and then push the ground away. Okay? So, again, I'm using these muscles. These muscles are great. These are going to get stronger, okay, if we do this exercise. I'm not going to rely on, well, my joints are going to work, but I'm going to use my muscles. Rather than putting the weight on the joint, I'm going to use muscles. Okay, now the next part of this exercise, I'm going to bring the camera up a little bit, is I'm going to lift my arms up, okay? Now, it's like Frankenstein movies. We're going to lift our arms up like this. If I turn sideways, you see what I'm doing. Okay, and down. Now, what I want you to do is imagine you're a puppet with a piece of string attached to your hand. So when I lift up, yeah, that this is lifting us up here. Now, if you can, just level with the shoulders. If you can, just drop your shoulders for me. Because I want the weight of that arm to come through your body and go down. If I use my neck, most people do this. And because we end up using the trapezium muscle to lift our arms up, and it becomes incredibly painful. And we all know you sit at a computer and you do this, and your posture becomes not very good, and you get cracking headaches and things like that. So at this point, I'm going to lift up my arms, okay? And then this is your homework. I want you to drop your shoulders. You let your shoulders go down. So that as if there's a piece of string holding up your arm here. Okay. And then I'm going to drop them down. Now I'm going to put them both together. Okay, I'm going to sit down in that horse stance. So if you all sit down, right, and I'm going to lift up my arms, I'm going to straighten up, and then I'm going to breathe out and go down. So it's like a wave coming up, push the feet into the ground, heads up straight, breathing in, breathe out. In, so I'm working my legs up. Okay, so I don't know how long I've been, by the way, but if you want to take a seat, so I've showed you the first exercise of Tai Chi, really. But the important thing is that in what I teach, there's endless amounts of movement. There's a set of movements that there's 108 steps. I teach ones that just has 8 movements in it. So you've all learnt one, so you've only got 7 more to go. It's absolutely fine. But the idea is that you relax in that position. You practice that first standing where, I mean, I don't know much about yoga at all, but I believe that first position in yoga, mountain position where we stand and you learn to stand. And I genuinely had a teacher in America, Valerie, she was called, and we would be doing the exercises and she would clap and you'd have to stay in that position for an hour, okay? And you'd soon learn to relax and get comfortable in it. You know, she'd always clap when you're in like this. And then, you know, you'd go, oh, relax, yeah. And often we sit in uncomfortable positions, and often we, you know, like I say, the computer's the best one. I'll often go around the office and roll over like that, and you're crunched over, and your neck hurts at the end of the day, or your back hurts at the end of the day. And it's just the mindfulness is the regular checking in on yourself and going, why am I sat in an uncomfortable position? We're not balancing our mind and our body together. Our mind's overriding what we'd be doing with our body, or vice versa, and we need to bring them back together. So I know this was a quick, brief introduction. It's hard to get a lot of information all over, as Letty, I'm sure, will testify. It's you know, this is 3,000 years of, you know, probably even more of teaching and you know, back catalogue of how we do this and what we do this. But it's just a little introduction that, you know, it is a slow moving exercise. You know, it is quite useful. It's about how, you know, I did it for years and years and dedicated my life to it. And then when I started working, you know, in the hospitals, it was like, how do I incorporate it into my life? And that's what I wanted to do. And that standing That standing, that feeling your feet, shoulders down, and taking a deep breath, so that it's almost like a full stop. And I've run lots of clinic rooms to patient in that room, I go to the next room, I go to the next room, and I see that patient, I'm with them, pay attention to what they're doing, then I don't carry it with me. I put a full stop in that, and then I go to the next room and I'm with them and I'm there, and that's what I like about it. It's not that I've forgotten about them, it's just it's not, I've done my exercise where I put a full stop in that, then I'll go to the next one, then I'll go to the next one. Because we all carry things with us all day, every day, whether we physically, shoulder, back, knee, nursing back, surgeon's neck, or or mentally, where you come into work and you may have rushed to get the kids to school, and your mind's running, going, I wish I hadn't said that. You're still carrying that with us. And mindfulness, for me, is that ability to just stop and then put that to one side. It hasn't gone away, doesn't matter. But at the moment, I'm going to focus on what's in front of me, rather than letting my mind go and drag me around. So, it's quite a useful tool. But sometimes you do, well, you've got to balance the physical, and sometimes you do just sit and work, and you do have to stretch. And I would suggest that we all do a certain form of yoga in ourselves, where you get up off the chair, and the amount of people who stretch and do that, it's just checking in with yourself and finding what's. But if you wanted to learn more, like I say, I haven't put the full Tai Chi exercises up there. There's a stretching routine, there's a mindfulness routine. There's a lady called Ruby who's in our centre who's done some 10-minute mindfulnesses exercises, 20-minute ones, and it's all there for you to check on. I'm going to do the full 8 movements of the Tai Chi. There's loads more, but it'll all be there for you if you want to get in touch. And you can please get in touch with me as well. It's not, my name's on here, but it's Robin Sunley at nhs.net. So there's only one Robin Sunley in the NHS apparently, so I'm that one. So, but if you need anything, you want more advice, I know this is kind of a condensed version of it. I could bore you for hours about this. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Good.
Thank you very much. I think the thing to remember from today is to stop. I think we need to learn how to stop and be happy with us, and then we can help others, not just the patient, our colleagues, staff. And I think it's really difficult for nurses and doctors to learn how to stop. We just run from one room to another, from one patient to another. So hopefully you will help us both of you, to learn how to stop and think about us. So thank you very much.
Robin, there is a question for you. Is it possible for you to do a quick demonstration of what is Tai Chi, please, if you don't mind? There is a question there. Thank you.
I'll do the whole thing. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll move that back a little bit. Okay, are we all right then? You see? Then we come back to where we started. So shoulders down, breath. That's a very short version of it. But there's a lot of exercises, and really what I should say is when we were in China, we would learn specific exercises that we would use on the ward. So when we were, if you were massaging a patient, you would use a different exercise. If you were lifting a patient, you would incorporate those exercises that were useful for you into your Tai Chi practice. So it's quite an interesting idea that basically like your own version of manual handling, occupational health. You do what you need to do and how you do it. You tailor it to what you want. Quite an interesting thing. I mean, again, it's kept me right for a while. I know I've been doing it 25 years, so yeah. I know you're all going to say, how can that be when you're only 25, Robin? But that's a whole different matter. Yeah, but like I say, it was actually the Tai Chi and the martial arts that led me to the mindfulness. It's incorporated into that. And when I discovered mindfulness, it was a full awakening, like a light bulb moment where, again, I have to practice it like any human, but, it's useful. So there you go. Is that okay? Any questions?
Yes.
I don't know. Are we doing questions?
It was very graceful moments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you're all welcome to visit me at the hospital. We have a beautiful centre and a big garden. So if you all want to, I know you're all over the country, but anytime you want to pop up, that's absolutely fine.
It was really interesting to watch. This is my first time watching this Tai Chi because every day morning when I go to work, I see two couples, on top of their terrace. They keep doing this, position. So I used to think, what form of exercise is this? And today I got to see and learn. Thank you so much. It was really graceful. So this is what Tai Chi is. Okay.
This is what Tai Chi is.
Letty, there is a question for you. Is it possible for you to do a quick demonstration as well about yoga? A little bit of movements, please. Sorry,
just a demonstration of some of the things. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like what quick overview what Robin did nicely, like that.
Of course. I'll show you a little bit of more dynamic stuff because I generally, as well as meditation, I teach vinyasa flow. So I'll just do a few sun salutations. I'll shut up now and I'll do it. Very much similar to what Robin was talking about. We always start with what we call Tadasana or mountain pose, and it's exactly the same thing. We would start with feet nice and wide, soft knees, pelvis slightly tucked, and generally we always start in Namaste, so we bring our hands together. Okay, I'll just do a few vinyasas. So in terms of full body movement, Hopefully you saw some of that. Can't breathe.
It was really...
Yeah, thank you. That was just part of the Vinyasa flow. So it would be, my classes are a mixture of dynamic movement like that and also meditation as well. So hopefully that was okay.
So flexible and so graceful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Nisha and Christina. And thank you, Letty. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for participating today's beautiful and useful session. And I hope you all might have enjoyed it as much as I did. And take time for yourself. Looking after your body can help to keep you mentally well. Making small, gradual changes can have a positive impact on your mental well-being. So try to start with 1 or 2 things you feel able to do. So thank you, everyone.